guys, do you think that handbag collecting is at its peak now? Or do you think there is still a lot of people who are gonna like become obsessed with collecting handbags? Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Jess. Over the last few months, I would say, I have been still obsessed with handbags, but I'm finding because they are just so damn expensive, my interest is starting to wane in them ever so slightly, only because I can't necessarily buy them as regularly as I was. With all the price increases, with also my priorities with my money have kind of changed a little bit. I'm finding that my obsession of handbags is, I guess, changing a little bit, and I've heard a few other YouTubers go through this similar phase as well, and who knows if it's just a phase and I'm going to be, you know, more obsessed than ever in like 2 years. But I do feel like these trends of collecting specific genres of things come and go, and I am feeling that although personally I'm not collecting bags maybe as frequently as I was, I've noticed a big trend with a lot of luxury YouTubers that perhaps they're slowing down as well. And is it because of the financial times, you know, cost of living going up and all that? Perhaps it is, but I also think that the trend of collecting all these handbags is something that will really change one day. And what made me really realize this was that I started to become really interested in collecting glassware, which is extremely random, guys, but if you've watched one of my previous videos, I did mention this as well, that I went to David Jones a while back and I was really encapsulated by the glassware section because I had all these like Costa Boda vases, looking at like the stainless steel like George Jensen section. Anyway, I was getting really into it, and it really unlocked a memory for me of when I was younger and my mum would collect glassware in like the late 90s era. I remember going through the shopping center and just looking through like glassware stores, and the trends back then to collect different things were much different from today. You know, in the 90s, probably even I wasn't born in the 80s, I was born in the 90s, probably in the 80s as well, there wasn't much of a trend towards collecting designer bags to excess. In fact, the whole designer bags thing probably didn't hit until, you know, the 2000s era, with celebrities wearing Louis Vuitton and Chanel and Birkins and all that. That didn't hit until the 2000s. So actually the concept of collecting bags is fairly new in the span of like the history of fashion, right? Hey guys, I got a few comments on my previous video that you found that you were unsubscribed to my channel even though you had subscribed before. So I would really appreciate it if you want to be subscribed to my channel. Check that you are subscribed, because it seems like YouTube has been unsubscribing people from my channel, which I don't know, quite random. But yes, please subscribe because I am trying to grow my channel this year, and yes, I would really appreciate it. So now we're in 2024. Since the big boom of it bags in the early 2000s, how long is it going to be before the trend of designer bags also wanes? Because with glassware, I was doing a little bit of research and I was trying to find out more about the history of Costa Boda because I'm really into it right now. I just got a vase. This is not a fancy one, guys. I picked this up secondhand. It's actually not a rare one at all. This is like a basic one, but I just bought it because I wanted a fruit bowl, and it's pink with swirls. But I bought a few Costa Boda pieces, and yeah, I'm really getting into it. I'm loving it because I think there is a part of me that really misses my childhood, and I really find comfort in collecting things that unlock memories of that. I don't know if that's a messed up thing or what, but I do think that companies also play into that part of your brain with all these like childlike collections, like the Fendi Pokemon. Like that tempted me just because it reignited my inner child. So this whole like glassware thing, I think, is also, it reminds me of my mom, so I think that's why I'm kind of getting into it. Like a part of it is probably why, but also I think it's really pretty. But the whole glassware trend, I know I'm blabbing on a lot, guys, it wasn't a thing until probably like the 70s and 80s and 90s. Glassware was trendy to collect. All these kind of art glass things. You could sell glassware for really high amounts. You know, in department stores, there was like a dedicated glassware section, and there still is, but I would say it is less of a focus than it was, you know, maybe a few decades ago. I think the glassware industry, or the art glass industry, has had a bit of a downward spiral over the last few decades. And the only reason why I say this is because I was recently watching a video about Costa Boda and Scandinavian glassware, and they were talking about the eras of when it came in and out of fashion. And in the current day, it's not really in fashion anymore or a necessity to collect glassware or like even crystal. You know, the whole Swarovski crystal thing I remember was really big in the late 90s as well, and like Swarovski was like, you know, amazing to collect. But I don't know if it's such a thing that young people would do these days, to collect like glassware and crystal. Like that's a very like old-fashioned thing to do. So I feel like that's also a genre of collecting that is dying out. And it made me realize that it's totally possible that handbags are currently in this phase where they're really popular, but they could be worth nothing in like 30 years, just as these, you know, random Costa Boda vases are sometimes worth hardly anything. You can find them in the thrift store sometimes for a few bucks. I know it's crazy, but it's pretty hard to find like an Hermes Birkin in the thrift store for a few dollars. However, some of these glassware pieces that are worth quite a could have been worth quite a significant amount back in the day are now becoming worthless. Now, there is still definitely a niche of people who collect these things, of course, but it just made me really reflect on the nature of these things that we collected. We really have to think that, are we getting too influenced by other people and getting wrapped up in the trends of collecting? Because I will say that, you know, over the past few years, I have been heavily influenced by, I suppose, other people's shopping habits as well on YouTube, people having all these handbags in their background. I mean, I'm guilty of being influenced by, you know, Claire Chanel and who else? Like Melon Melbourne and, you know, other people who collect a lot of designer bags to excess. You know, I don't know if this is something I would necessarily do if I didn't watch YouTube. I mean, I probably would be definitely into designer bags because I've worked in the luxury industry. So I've actually, it's part of my real life, but I don't know if I would have collected it to excess, like as I've seen on YouTube. And I was actually tagged to do a video by Melinda from Lux Purse Love about the topic of being influenced by other YouTubers with, you know, buying certain things. There are my recent handbags that I bought, like my, like this bag. I was probably influenced, I don't know, I did watch a few videos about it, probably with Xioma Pics. I was influenced a little bit, I would say, with her review of it, but I wouldn't say the styles of bags I'm buying I'm necessarily influenced, but I think it's more to do with like people collecting things in groups. So I think I'm influenced by like all YouTubers to an extent. So for example, like I would say when I started collecting Hermes, I was very influenced by Winnie Y because she collects a lot of bags that are not Birkins and Kellys, which I thought was really cool. She does have a few Birkins and Kellys as well, but you know, she has the Victoria bag and she has a Lindy, and I thought that was really cool. And she went into so much detail about where she found the bags on the pre-love market, and I just love her style as well. So I would say she definitely influenced me. I was also really influenced by Claire Chanel, and especially her Chanel collection is like such a dreamy collection. Like she just had so the beautiful grey classic flap and so many cool vintage pieces. I think she would have definitely influenced me as well, and also her going through buying a Birkin, buying a Kelly bag. She was one of the first YouTubers I watched probably discussing Hermes before it became as popular as it is now in 2024. Also, I suppose I was also really influenced by Kat L, because Kat L did talk about Hermes a few years ago. I remember she had a red Lindy bag, which I don't think she has anymore, but I remember when I was like doing research on the Lindy a few years ago, I always really liked Kat's Lindy bag, and Kat L was one of the OG YouTubers I watched a few years ago as well. I was probably influenced by my real life as well. I had worked in a few luxury stores, and I was always seeing customers with luxury bags and Hermes and Chanel, and I was always curious by how these wealthy people dressed, I suppose. So that definitely influenced me as well. And I think if I worked in a different industry, which was like not related to shopping and fashion, I probably wouldn't have bought as many bags as I have. And if I didn't watch as much YouTube as I have, I also probably wouldn't have bought as many bags as I have now. Even my pink Pico tin, I remember my friend at work had this exact same bag, and I was just like, what is that bag? And she was like, it's an Hermes bag. And I was just like, that is gorgeous. I'm obsessed with the color. And I had to hunt one down pre-loved for myself. That was probably, well, this was my first ever Hermes bag. Like, this was probably, yeah, I was influenced by my friend with this one. So although I like to say I'm not that influenced by people, I definitely collectively have been influenced by so many people. And I'm also influenced by, I suppose, people shopping. Like, when I see other people shopping, I think, oh, it's okay if I buy like 10 rodeo charms or, you know, Pegasus charms. It's okay if I buy 30 Twillies, like, because I've seen other people do it as well. So I don't feel like so abnormal, I suppose, which is not a bad thing, but it means that I can also get a little bit out of control and lose balance in my life and get wrapped up in what other people are doing and not realize, like, going back to reality and realizing, like, you know, I'm not made of money here kind of thing. So yeah, I definitely have been influenced by other people, and I think with a lot of YouTubers talking about shopping less as well, that is influencing me as well. And the whole handbag thing, I don't think it's necessarily going to be a thing that's going to last forever as well. I do think that we're currently in the next few decades or so, it's going to be something that I think it's, guys, do you think that handbag collecting is at its peak now? Or do you think there is still a lot of people who are gonna like become obsessed with collecting handbags? Do you have a daughter, or do you know people who are like in their teenage years or early 20s that are really obsessed with collecting handbags or aspire to do so? Because I don't know, I think that this is like a phase of like trends that is gonna like phase out eventually, and people are not going to be as interested in designer bags as they have been for the past few years. There are a lot of things that influence that as well. I think the uproar of fakes is ruining the appeal of designer handbags. The over-saturation of designer bags, I mean, brands are churning out designer bags left, right, and center these days, is making bags less appealing, right? So yeah, I don't know if collecting designer bags is going to be a thing in 10 years, just like collecting glassware is not going to be as popular or as seen in you know, local shopping centers maybe as it was in the past. So anyways, I just had a few thoughts to blab out today. Hope you enjoyed my video. Let me know your thoughts as well on this topic of designer bags. Do you think they're going to be not a collectible thing in the future? And I'll talk to you guys on my next one. Bye!